Hi, I'm Giselle Clarkson. I'm the illustrator of The Tiny Woman's Coat, written by Joy Cowley and published by Gecko Press. And I am going to show you how to draw the tiny woman and her best friend Snail. And I'm going to switch to a screen recording now because I do all of my illustrations digitally on the computer. And I will talk you through my process as I go along and you can see how it's done. Rightio, this is Photoshop and this is what my screen looks like when I'm set up and ready to start drawing a picture. I've got my tools that I need down the side here, I've got my layers and everything set up here, and the first thing that I do when I'm drawing the tiny woman is put her ear in and then give her some hair like this, lots of wild woolly hair. And then I want to put in her face in profile, like this. There we go. And give her an eye there. And a little mouth, a bit more hair. There we go, like that. Now, I think the tiny woman in this picture, I think she is off for a walk. So let's see, we're going to have her back of her tunic sort of down like that, and then we'll have her arm about there. Now I think she's going to be holding something, and it's going to be her little mushroom umbrella that she takes out with her when she goes into the rain to keep her dry. See, I just erased that little bit there so that her umbrella is in front of her. Here we go, and then I'm going to put a nice big top on it. Beautiful yellow mushroom. Okay, now we'll just put a little bit of detail in there. It's got the gills under the mushroom that look a bit like that. And there's a little bit of texture on the top of the mushroom. It's a little bit scaly. There we go. Now, let me just clean up that bit there with my eraser. Now, let's see, where were we? Alright. Fill in the rest of her body like this, and the texture of her tunic, it's a little bit woolly. I thought it's sort of a little bit like maybe she's collected a bit of sheep's wool that might have blown in the wind or been stuck to a fence, and she's felted it together to make herself a nice little tunic that she wears around the place. Okay, and now her legs, let's see, one leg must be sort of out the front like this because she's walking along, and little shoe like that, got black shoes, and her pants are quite dark, so they've got quite a lot of dark texture on them like that. And then her other leg must be coming in about here. Colour that in. And add her other foot. There we go. And I'll add a little bit of ground here for her to walk on, so she's not floating around. And now, let's just give her a little bit of a neck there, shall we? Okay, and now we shall draw her best friend, who is this little snail who goes everywhere with her. And I'm going to do that on a new layer over here so that we can move it into a different position in the picture if we need to. Okay, now it's a big snail shell like this. one of the reasons that I wanted to give the tiny woman a pet snail is that it helps give a real sense of just how tiny she is, because this is just a regular garden snail, you know. It's not a giant snail. This is just one that you would find out hidden under some leaves or in your veggie patch in the garden. Just a regular snail. But you can see the tiny woman is not that much bigger than a snail. So, it's the snail's body. I'm not going to be too worried about how all these lines and stuff are overlapping down here, because that's why I've got it on a separate layer. That's one of the really cool things about working digitally. And a snail's face like this, and there's a little bit of texture on the snail's body, and a little bit of ground underneath them both like that. I'm going to put the snail at the back now, and I'm actually just going to use my erasing tool to make sure the snail looks like it's behind the tiny woman rather than in front. There we go. Now, I think we'd better add some colour, so I'm going to take another layer and I'm going to put it behind these lines I've drawn. And so that way I can add all my colour and not worry about messing up all my line art. First things first is that the tiny little woman, she has nice red hair. Let's see, is this about the right colour? Oh, not quite. Let me see. There we go, that's better. That's more like her hair colour. Nice red hair. Keep it nice and loose. That's really important to me, is that things look just kind of natural and loose and floaty and spontaneous. She's very pale. I don't think she spends much time in the sun, but she does get a little bit of blush on her cheeks, on her nose, and on her ear like that. You know, I think we'd better give her just a little eyebrow like that. Adds a little bit more expression to her face. And I'm going to put in a little bit of shading too, just under her neck like that. Okay, now her tunic, I said it was made of sheep's wool, so that's why I think it's this sort of pale, sort of almost white, little bit grey kind of colour. I think it must be really nice and soft. A little bit cosy. I think it doesn't really keep the rain out though, which is why she needs her coat in the story. There we go, like that, and she's got brown pants. There we go, colour them in like so. And her shoes, they're just quite dark, so we'll just finish them off a little bit like that. Oh, and we'd better colour in her hand. And her umbrella, this beautiful toadstool, is bright yellow. There's incredible bright coloured fungi out there in the world. And I think yellow ones are very beautiful. It's like a ray of sunshine when she's out in the storm. It's got these gills underneath. What colour? Let's see. Sort of like that, I think. It's a little bit darker with the gills of the mushroom. And a nice bright yellow stem like that. And we'll add just a little bit of colour and detail to the underside like that. Okay, we're almost there, but we'd better colour in the snail. We'll choose a nice colour for a snail shell, like this. I'm going to choose a few different shades of brown just to finish up the snail shell, because they're never quite uniform in colour, are they? Snails, if you've ever seen them out and about. Sort of like that, and we'll choose a paler colour to do some sort of highlights on it, like so. And then the colour of its body is sort of brown, sort of grey, nice softish kind of a colour. I mean, it's not harsh, it's not really a cold grey. And the snail's eyes there on his little stems, and then we'll add a little bit of shading to the snail, because of course the snail is must be a little bit wet and a bit slimy, so add some little highlights to it like that. And then let's make the ground colour just the last little detail. There we go. We'll just finish it off with a little bit of ground. And one last thing. Clink! It's a raindrop. The storm must be coming. So that is it. That is how I draw the tiny woman and her pet snail out for a walk. And I hope that has shown you a little bit sort of behind the scenes, and maybe you'd like to give it a go yourself. Thank you for watching and joining me while I did this, and see you later.